Hi, I'm Dallas, and I'm about to tell you about the time I gave a beautiful eulogy for the meanest woman I'd ever known, my grandmother, Margaret Hartley. We're gathered here today to celebrate the life of Margaret Hartley, the funeral director announced. I stood in the front row of the nearly empty funeral home, watching my Uncle Richard smirk from across the aisle. My mom, Sarah, squeezed my hand. "Someone needs to say something," she whispered. "The silence is deafening." "I'll do it," I said, standing up. Richard raised an eyebrow. "This should be interesting." I walked to the podium and cleared my throat. Margaret Hartley was a woman of strong convictions. She believed in hard work, discipline, and... I paused, manufacturing memories that never existed. And she showed her love in her own unique way. She taught us resilience, perseverance, and the importance of standing on our own 2 feet. It was complete fiction. Grandma Margaret had been cruel, bitter, and had spent her last 20 years tormenting my mother for marrying my dad instead of the rich banker she'd approved of. After the service, Richard approached with his wife Linda trailing behind him. "Quite the performance, Dallas," Richard said. "Very touching. All lies, of course." "Richard, please," Linda muttered. "What do you want?" I asked. "Just wanted to thank you for making Mother sound almost human," he said, pulling an envelope from his jacket. "Oh, and I suppose you should see this. Mother's will was read this morning." My mom joined us. "Richard, what's going on?" He handed her the envelope with a theatrical flourish. "Sorry, Sarah. Mother left everything to me. The house, the investments, the entire estate. You and your precious Dallas get exactly nothing." Mom's face went pale as she scanned the document. "This can't be right. She promised me—" "Promised you what?" Richard laughed. "That she'd forgive you for disappointing her? She never forgave anyone for anything. You know that better than anyone." "When was this will dated?" I asked, taking the paper. 3 months ago," Richard said. "Right after her stroke. She was very clear about her wishes." "She could barely speak after her stroke," Mom said. "How could she—" "She could write, couldn't she?" Richard interrupted. "Look, I didn't make the rules. Mother wanted me to have it all, and now I do. The house will be on the market by next week." Linda touched his arm. "Richard, maybe we should—" "Should what? Give them charity?" He turned back to us. "You gave that lovely eulogy about resilience and standing on your own feet. Well, here's your chance to practice what you preach." "There's something wrong here," I said. "Grandma was awful, but she wasn't completely irrational. She wouldn't leave Mom with nothing." "Wouldn't she?" Richard shrugged. "She spent decades telling Sarah what a disappointment she was. Why would she reward failure?" "Mom worked as her caretaker for 5 years," I said, my voice rising. "She gave up her job, her time—" "And I paid the bills," Richard cut in. "I handled her finances, managed her properties, dealt with her medical expenses. Sarah played nurse. I ran an empire. Mother knew who deserved her legacy." He walked away, leaving us standing there in shock. "Dallas, I don't understand," Mom said, her voice breaking. "I know she was cruel, but she told me just last year that the house would be mine. She said it was my inheritance." "When was that?" I asked. "Before the stroke. We had a rare good day, and she said she wanted to make things right." I looked at the will document again. Something felt wrong. "Richard's lying about something," I said. "I can feel it." "What can we do?" Mom asked. "We can't afford to fight him." "We'll find a way," I promised. "That eulogy I gave? It was all invented. But this fight? This is going to be real." 3 days later, Mom and I sat across from Patricia Chen, an estate attorney I'd found online. "Tell me everything," Patricia said. Mom took a deep breath. "My mother was difficult. She never approved of my marriage, and she made sure I knew it. But I took care of her for 5 years. I cooked, cleaned, managed her medications, everything. And your brother Richard? He visited once a month, maybe. He handled her finances, managed her rental properties. So he had power of attorney? Patricia asked. Yes, he got it years ago when my father died, Mom confirmed. And the stroke happened when? 4 months ago, Mom said. She lost most of her speech. She could barely sign her name. Patricia looked up sharply. But the will is dated 3 months ago? Exactly, I said. Who witnessed it? Patricia asked. Mom checked the document. Linda Hartley and James Morrison. Who's James Morrison? I asked. I have no idea, Mom said. Patricia picked up her phone. I'm calling Detective Marcus Webb. He specializes in estate fraud. Within the hour, Detective Webb joined us, a tall man with gray temples and sharp eyes. Mrs. Hartley, he said, tell me about your mother's condition after the stroke. She couldn't talk, Mom said. The words came out garbled. The doctor said she had aphasia. Could she understand you? Sometimes. Other times she seemed confused, disoriented. Some days she didn't recognize anyone. Webb wrote this down. And Richard knew this? Of course. He was there when the doctors explained everything. But he claims she was competent enough to change her will? Webb raised an eyebrow. Interesting. What do we do? I asked. Patricia leaned forward. First, we get your mother's medical records. Second, Detective Webb investigates James Morrison. Third, we depose Linda. Richard's wife won't help us, Mom said. She might not have a choice, Webb said. If she witnessed fraud, she's complicit. People talk when facing criminal charges. Over the next 2 weeks, we gathered evidence. Webb tracked down James Morrison, Richard's golf buddy, who admitted he'd signed as a favor without actually witnessing Margaret sign anything. That's witness fraud, Webb told me. We've got him. Then Linda called Mom, crying. Sarah, I need to talk to you, she sobbed. Can we meet? We met her at a coffee shop. She looked exhausted. I can't do this anymore, Linda said. Richard made me sign that will. Your mother never signed anything. He forged her signature. You're sure? Patricia asked. I watched him do it, Linda said, pulling out her phone. And I recorded him practicing her signature. I was scared, so I documented everything. She showed us videos of Richard tracing Margaret's signature over and over. Text messages where he told Linda to keep quiet about the inheritance plan. Why come forward now? Mom asked. Because he's planning to do the same thing to his own kids, Linda said. He's already talking about how to disinherit them. I married a monster, and I can't protect him anymore. This is enough, Webb said. We can arrest him. We arranged a meeting at Grandma's house. Richard was already measuring for renovations. Sarah, Dallas, Richard greeted us. Come to say goodbye to the old place? We came to talk, I said. Sure. Linda, we have guests. Linda appeared, her eyes meeting Mom's briefly. We sat in the dining room. Patricia and Detective Webb entered through the front door. What's this? Richard demanded. Who are they? Detective Marcus Webb and attorney Patricia Chen, Webb said. We need to discuss your mother's will. Richard's smile faltered. I don't know what you're talking about. We have evidence you forged Margaret Hartley's signature, Patricia said calmly. That's absurd, Richard blustered. Linda witnessed it. Tell them, Linda. Linda looked down. I can't do this anymore, Richard. What? She gave us everything, Webb said. Videos of you practicing your mother's signature, text messages, witness testimony. Linda, you betrayed me? Richard stood up, furious. You were going to do the same to our children, Linda shouted. I heard you planning to disinherit them. That's different. No, it's not. You're a thief, Richard. You stole from your sister while she cared for your dying mother. Webb stepped forward. Richard Hartley, you're under arrest for forgery, fraud, and conspiracy. Sarah, you can't possibly... Richard's voice shook. Can't what? Mom asked quietly. Can't stand up for myself? Can't demand what's mine? Mother was cruel to you, Richard said desperately. She deserved to leave it to me. Maybe she was cruel, Mom said, but I showed up every day. I fed her, bathed her, sat with her when she was scared. What did you do? You swooped in to check her bank accounts. I managed her empire, Richard protested. You stole from her, I said. You saw an opportunity and took it. Webb pulled out handcuffs. Mr. Hartley, stand up. Wait, Sarah, I'll split it with you, 50-50. You don't need to press charges. I'm not interested, Mom said. 60-40 then. You can have the house. Richard, stop, Linda said. This is your fault, he screamed at her. No, Linda said firmly. You ruined everything. Webb cuffed him. You have the right to remain silent. As they led Richard out, he kept shouting. Sarah, please, I'm your brother. Mom would want you to rot in prison, Mom called. She hated liars. Patricia turned to us. The will is void. We'll reinstate the original will that splits the estate equally. What happens to him? I asked. He's looking at 3 to 5 years, Webb said. Plus, he'll pay back everything, plus damages. Linda wiped her eyes. I'm filing for divorce, and I'll testify at his trial. Mom hugged her. Thank you for doing the right thing. 2 months later, we gathered in the courthouse for the final hearing. Judge Anderson reviewed the documents. The fraudulent will is void, Judge Anderson said. The original will stands. Estate split equally between Sarah Hartley and Richard Hartley, though Mr. Hartley's portion will be held pending his criminal trial. You get your half immediately, Patricia whispered to us. His is frozen until sentencing. The door opened and Richard's lawyer entered with Richard in an orange jumpsuit. Your Honor, the lawyer said, my client would like to address the court. Richard stood slowly. Sarah. Dallas. I'm sorry. I was greedy and I was wrong. Mom crossed her arms. You're sorry you got caught. No, he faltered. I am sorry. Mother was cruel to you, and instead of helping, I made it worse. I convinced myself I deserved it all, but you earned every penny by actually being there. Is this supposed to make me forgive you? Mom asked. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Richard said quietly. I just want you to know I understand what I lost. Not just money or freedom. I lost my sister, my family. You lost that when you forged that will, I said. Patricia stood. Your Honor, my client accepts Mr. Hartley's guilty plea on condition he serves the full 4 years, pays complete restitution, and signs a statement admitting to the forgery. Agreed, Richard's lawyer said. Mr. Hartley, how do you plead to forgery and estate fraud? Judge Anderson asked. Guilty, Your Honor, Richard said. After the hearing, Detective Webb shook our hands outside. 4 years in state prison, plus his professional licenses are revoked. He'll never work in finance again. Good, Mom said firmly. He shouldn't be trusted with other people's money. Patricia closed her briefcase. Congratulations, Sarah. The house is yours. The rental properties, the investments, all yours within 30 days. I still can't believe it, Mom said. Believe it, Patricia smiled. You fought back and won. Linda approached hesitantly. Sarah, the divorce is final next week. I'm starting over. New city, new life. Good for you, Mom said warmly. You deserve better. So do you, Linda replied. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner. You spoke up when it mattered, I said. That takes courage. We walked to the parking lot. Mom stopped and looked back at the courthouse. You okay? I asked. I'm thinking about that eulogy you gave, she said. All those nice things you made up about Margaret. I hated giving that speech, I admitted. But you did it to keep the peace, Mom said. And watching you honor someone who didn't deserve honor reminded me that grace doesn't mean being a doormat. You can be kind and still demand justice. I learned that from you, I said. As we drove home, Mom was quiet. What are you thinking? I asked. Margaret spent her whole life holding grudges, punishing people, keeping score, Mom said. She died alone, with nobody willing to say a kind word. Even your kind words were invented. She earned that, I said. She did, Mom agreed. But I don't want to be like her. I don't want to spend my life bitter. If I'd let Richard win, if I'd accepted being treated like I didn't matter, I could have become just like her. But you pushed me to fight back the right way, with lawyers, evidence, truth. Not revenge, justice. There's a difference, I said. There is, she agreed. Revenge would have been screaming at Richard's house. Justice was documenting everything, building a case, letting the system work. Do you feel better? I asked. I feel free, Mom said. For the first time in decades, I feel free. We pulled into our driveway. Mom turned to me with tears in her eyes. Thank you for giving that eulogy, even though it was all lies. Thank you for being better than Margaret taught us to be. We both deserved better, I said. But at least now we have what's ours. And Richard has what he deserves, Mom said. A prison cell and a guilty conscience. We went inside. Mom immediately started planning. The house would be sold, investments managed, her future secured. She was already talking about that trip to Italy she'd always dreamed about. As for me, I was grateful I'd stood up when it mattered. That invented eulogy had been painful to give, but it led to the truth coming out. Sometimes you have to honor the dead to protect the living. And sometimes the best revenge is simply reclaiming what was always yours. Have you ever had a family member try to cheat you out of an inheritance or take advantage of your kindness? What would you have done in my situation? Like and subscribe for more stories about people who refused to be victims and fought back the right way.